what if I told you success is not controlled by your circumstances, your background, or even your opportunities, but by something far more powerful, something you carry every single day, your attitude. The silent force that shapes your decisions, your actions, and ultimately your destiny. Your attitude shapes your reality. You don't see the world as it is. You see it as you are. The world outside you is not the true battlefield. The real battle is within. Because the way you think, the way you interpret, the way you respond, this is what creates the life you experience. Two people can walk the same road. One sees darkness, obstacles, and reasons to complain. The other sees lessons, opportunities, and reasons to grow. The road is the same, but their realities are completely different. Why? Because reality is not just what happens to you. Reality is how you process what happens to you. Your attitude is like a filter placed over your life. It colors everything: your relationships, your goals, your future, your belief in yourself. If that filter is filled with negativity, doubt, and fear, even blessings start to look like burdens. And how many people today are living in abundance, yet feeling empty? How many have opportunities, yet only see limitations? How many are surrounded by doors, yet convinced they are trapped? This is not a problem of circumstances. This is a problem of perception. And perception is driven by attitude. When your attitude is weak, the smallest problem feels overwhelming. When your attitude is strong, even the biggest obstacle feels temporary. Because strength is not in the situation, it is in the mindset. From a deeper perspective, this connects directly with faith. Allah does not change the condition of a person until they change what is within themselves. This is not just guidance, it is a law of life. A divine principle that places responsibility directly in your hands. If your inner world is filled with gratitude, patience, and trust, your outer world begins to reflect peace and progress. But if your inner world is filled with complaints, envy, and hopelessness, your reality becomes heavy, no matter how much you have. Think about it. When you wake up with gratitude, even small things feel meaningful. When you wake up with frustration, even blessings feel insufficient. The same life, but two completely different experiences. This is the power of attitude. Your mind is constantly speaking to you. Every day, every moment, it is shaping how you see yourself and the world. And if you are not careful, it will quietly convince you that you are not capable, not worthy, not strong enough. And once you believe that, your actions follow. You stop trying, you stop believing, you start settling, not because you lack ability, but because your attitude has limited your vision. But the moment you shift your attitude, something powerful happens. You begin to see possibilities where you once saw problems. You begin to feel strength where you once felt fear. You begin to move forward where you once stood still. And that shift is not just psychological, it is spiritual. Because when a person aligns their attitude with faith, with sabr, patience, with taqwa, trust in Allah, they develop a calm strength that cannot be shaken by temporary hardships. They understand that every delay has wisdom, every hardship has purpose, every struggle is seen, known, and accounted for. And this belief transforms how they see everything. They no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" They begin to ask, "What is this teaching me?" They no longer see pain as punishment. They begin to see it as preparation. And this shift alone can change an entire life. Because your attitude decides whether you break or become stronger. It decides whether you focus on what you lost or what you still have. It decides whether you live in regret or rise with determination. And deep down, you already know this. You felt those days when everything seemed heavy, not because life changed, but because your mindset did. And you felt those moments of strength when nothing changed externally, but something inside you refused to give up. That is your attitude shaping your reality. That is your inner world projecting onto your outer life. And if you truly understood the power of this, you would guard your thoughts more carefully than your possessions. You would protect your mindset more than your comfort. You would refuse to let negativity settle in your heart. Because once negativity takes root, it begins to distort everything. It makes you doubt your path. It makes you question your worth. It makes you forget your purpose. And slowly, It builds a reality that feels smaller than the life you were meant to live. But when you choose a different attitude, one rooted in belief, discipline, and faith, you begin to expand again. You begin to see clearly again. You begin to realize that the limits you felt were never outside you. They were created within you. What you truly believe determines what you're willing to do. Every action you take or fail to take begins long before the moment itself. It begins in the quiet, unseen space of your mind, where belief is formed. Because you don't act based on what is possible. You act based on what is possible. You act based on what you believe is possible for you. A person who believes they can succeed will attempt what others avoid. They will step forward when others hesitate. They will try again when others give up. But a person who secretly believes they will fail will hesitate even when opportunity is right in front of them. They will delay. They will doubt. They will retreat. Not because they lack ability, but because they lack belief. Belief is the engine behind every decision. It determines your courage, your consistency, and your commitment. Without belief, even the simplest task feels heavy. With belief, even the hardest journey feels achievable. And this is where most people misunderstand their struggle. They think they lack motivation. They think they lack discipline. But in reality, they lack belief. Because when belief is strong, action becomes natural. You don't need to force yourself to move forward. You feel pulled toward your goals. You feel a sense of urgency, a sense of purpose, a quiet certainty that you must act. And when belief is weak, even small steps feel exhausting. You overthink, you delay. You wait for the right moment that never comes. This is why two people with the same opportunity can produce completely different results. One moves, one stays still, one risks, one remains stuck. And the difference is invisible, but powerful. It is belief. From a spiritual perspective, belief is not just mental, it is deeply connected to faith. When a person truly believes that Allah has placed within them the ability to rise, when they believe that their effort is seen, that their struggle has meaning, that nothing is wasted, they begin to act with a different level of confidence. They no longer rely only on their limited strength. They draw strength from something greater. And this creates a powerful combination. Effort with faith, because when belief is rooted in tawakkul, a person no longer fears failure the same way. They understand that outcomes are in Allah's control, but effort is in theirs. So they act, they try, they persist. Even when results are delayed, even when the path is unclear, because their belief tells them this effort matters, and this belief removes hesitation. Think about the moments in your life when you truly believed in something. You didn't wait, you didn't overanalyze, you moved. There was a fire inside you, a certainty that pushed you forward. That is the power of belief. Now think about the moments you held back, the opportunities you didn't take, the risks you avoided, the dreams you delayed. It wasn't because you couldn't do it, it was because a voice inside you whispered, "What if you fail?" And you listened. That voice is the absence of belief, and if left unchecked, it quietly controls your life. It convinces you to settle for less. It convinces you to stay comfortable. It convinces you to shrink your vision, not because your potential is small, but because your belief is. But the moment you change what you believe, everything begins to shift. You start seeing opportunities instead of obstacles. You start taking action instead of waiting. You start trusting yourself instead of doubting every step. And that shift is emotional. Because deep down, there is a part of you that wants more. A part of you that knows you were created for growth, for purpose, for something greater than just existing. And every time you ignore that voice, it hurts. Every time you hold back, it creates regret. Every time you doubt yourself, it distances you from the life you could have built. But belief can bring you back. Belief can reignite that fire. Belief can rebuild that confidence. Belief can push you to act even when fear is present. Because courage is not the absence of fear. It is the result of belief being stronger than fear. And once you reach that point, action becomes inevitable. You stop waiting for permission. You stop. waiting for certainty. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You simply begin. And that beginning is where everything changes, because success is not built on what you wish for. It is built on what you believe strongly enough to act upon a strong mindset. Keeps you moving when others stop. Life will test you, not once, not twice, but repeatedly in ways you never expected. There will be days when your energy is low, your progress feels invisible, and your efforts seem unnoticed. And in those moments, most people stop. Not because the journey is impossible, but because their mindset is not strong enough to continue. This is where positive thinking becomes more than just a concept. It becomes survival. It becomes the force that carries you when motivation disappears. Because persistence is not built on motivation. Persistence is built on mindset. A person with a weak mindset depends on feelings. If I feel good, I'll work. If I feel motivated, I'll continue. But feelings are unstable. They change daily, sometimes hourly. And if your actions depend on feelings, your progress will always be inconsistent. But a person with a strong, positive mindset operates differently. They understand that feelings come and go, but purpose remains. So they move forward even when they don't feel like it. They show up even when it's difficult. They continue even when results are slow, because they are not controlled by temporary emotions. They are guided by a long-term vision. Positive thinking does not mean ignoring problems. It means refusing to be defeated by them. It means looking at difficulty and saying, "This will not stop me." It means facing delay and saying, "This is not the end." It means holding on when everything inside you is telling you to let go. And this is where emotional strength is built. Because persistence is painful, it requires you to keep go. Engine when there is no applause. To keep working when no one is watching. To keep believing when nothing around you confirms your belief. And that silence, that loneliness, that uncertainty breaks many people, but not the one who has trained their mind to stay positive. Because positive thinking fuels hope. And hope is powerful. Hope tells you that your effort matters. Hope tells you that your time will come. Hope tells you that what you're building is not in vain. Without hope, persistence dies. With hope, persistence becomes unstoppable. And from a deeper perspective, this hope is rooted in faith. When a person believes that Allah sees every effort, every struggle, every tear that falls in silence, they gain a strength that the world cannot give. They understand that the nothing is wasted. Every step counts. Every hardship has meaning. Every delay carries wisdom. So they continue, not just for results, but because they trust the process that Allah has written for them. They develop sabr, not as weakness, but as strength, a quiet, powerful endurance that refuses to break under pressure. And this changes everything. Because now, persistence is no longer a burden. It becomes a form of worship. Every time you choose to keep going instead of giving up, every time you choose discipline over comfort, every time you choose belief over doubt, you are not just building success. You are strengthening your character, and that character becomes unshakable. Think about how many people quit just before their breakthrough. How many walked away because it became too hard? How many gave up because they couldn't see immediate results? Not realizing they were closer than they thought. This is the tragedy of a weak mindset. It stops too soon. But a positive mindset stays longer. It endures longer, it fights longer, it believes longer. And because it stays in the game, it eventually wins. Because success does not always go to the most talented. It goes to the one who refuses to stop. And refusal is a decision powered by mindset. There will be days when you feel like quitting, days when your mind fills with doubt.
Days when progress feels painfully slow. In those moments, your mindset will be tested, and you will have a choice: to stop, like many before you, or to continue and succeed. And that choice
will not be determined by your circumstances. It will be determined by your thinking. Because a strong, positive mindset does not ask, "Why is this so hard?" It asks, "How can I grow from this?" It does not focus on how far is left. It focuses on how far it has come. It does not collapse under pressure. It becomes stronger because of it. And once you develop this mindset, something shifts inside you. You stop fearing difficulty. You stop avoiding challenges. You stop doubting your ability to endure. You begin to trust yourself. And that trust keeps you moving forward, even when the road is long, even when the nights are heavy, even when the outcome is uncertain, because deep inside, you know stopping is no longer an option. Consistent actions build an unbreakable mindset. Discipline is not something you feel. It is something you choose. And most people misunderstand this. They wait to feel ready, to feel motivated, to feel inspired before they act. But discipline does not come from feelings. It comes from decision. A decision repeated daily until it becomes part of who you are. Because your attitude is not formed in one moment of inspiration. It is formed in the quiet repetition of your daily actions. Every time you choose to wake up when it's difficult, every time you choose to work when you don't feel like it, every time you choose to continue when results are not visible, you are building something powerful within yourself. You are training your mind to obey you, not your emotions. And that is where strength begins. A weak mindset follows comfort. It looks for ease, for shortcuts, for reasons to delay. But discipline refuses comfort. It shows up on difficult days. It works through resistance. It continues when excuses are easier. And over time, this consistency begins to reshape your attitude. Because attitude is not just what you think, it is what you repeatedly do. If your actions are inconsistent, your mindset becomes unstable. You start doubting yourself. You start questioning your ability. You start losing trust in your own word. And nothing is more dangerous than that. Because when you cannot trust yourself, every goal begins to feel out of reach. But when you act with discipline, when you do what you said you would do, again and again, you build self-respect. You prove to yourself that you are reliable, that you are capable, that you are stronger than your temporary feelings. And that proof changes your attitude completely. Now you don't just hope you can succeed. You know you can endure. Discipline creates certainty, and certainty creates confidence. From a deeper perspective, discipline is also deeply connected to faith. In Islam, consistency in small actions is beloved. It is not the size of the action that matters, it is the sincerity and consistency behind it. Think about daily prayers. They are not dependent on mood. They are not delayed because of inconvenience. They are performed with discipline, at their time, regardless of how one feels. And what does that create? It creates structure. It creates stability. It creates a heart that is anchored, not easily shaken by the chaos of life. In the same way, when you bring discipline into your daily life, your work, your goals, your habits, you begin to build a mindset that is not controlled by external circumstances. You become steady. And steadiness is power. Because life will not always be easy. There will be distractions, temptations, and moments of weakness. There will be days when your energy is low and your mind searches for excuses. Just skip today. Start tomorrow. You have done enough. And if you listen, discipline weakens. But if you resist, even in the smallest way, you strengthen your mind. Every small act of discipline is a victory. Every moment you choose action over excuse builds resilience. And these small victories compound. They turn into habits. Those habits turn into character. And that character becomes your identity. An identity that does not break under pressure. An identity that does not quit easily. An identity that keeps going, no matter what. And once you reach that level, your attitude transforms. You stop seeing challenges as threats. You start seeing them as part of the process. You stop avoiding difficulty. You start embracing it. Because you know you have trained yourself for this. You have built the strength required. And that strength did not come overnight. It came from days when you didn't feel like it, but did it anyway. It came from moments when it was easier to quit, but you continued. It came from choosing discipline again and again. There is something deeply emotional about realizing this. That the person you are becoming is being shaped by what you do today. That your future is not decided by luck, but by your consistency. That every small effort, every quiet struggle, every disciplined action is building a version of you that is stronger, wiser, and more capable. And once you truly understand this, you stop taking your daily actions lightly. You stop negotiating with your goals. You stop waiting for the perfect mood, because you realize discipline is the bridge between and who you are and who you are meant to become, and every time you choose it, you are crossing that bridge again and again. Trust in Allah replaces doubt with courage. Fear is one of the strongest forces a human being can feel. It paralyzes decisions, weakens confidence, and convinces a person to stay where they are, even when they know they are meant for more. But fear does not come from reality. It comes from uncertainty. What if I fail? What if things go wrong? What if I'm not enough? These questions quietly enter the mind and slowly begin to control it. And once fear takes hold, it doesn't just stop your actions. It reshapes your entire perception. Opportunities begin to look like risks. Growth begins to feel like danger. Change begins to feel unsafe. And so, you stay still, not because you are incapable, but because you are afraid. But there is a force stronger than fear, faith. Because faith answers the questions that fear keeps asking. Fear says, what if it doesn't work out? Faith says, Allah is in control. Fear says, you might fail. Faith says, nothing is wasted in the sight of Allah. Fear says, you are alone. Faith says, Allah is always with you. And when these answers settle into your heart, something begins to change. You start to feel a quiet strength. Not loud, not aggressive, but steady and deeply rooted. This is the strength of tawakkul, placing your trust in Allah while still taking action. Because faith is not about sitting back and doing nothing. It is about moving forward without being controlled by fear. It is about understanding that outcomes are not in your hands, but effort is. And once you accept this, fear begins to lose its power. Because what are you really afraid of? Failure? But if Allah sees your effort, rewards your patience, and writes something better for you, then what you call failure may act. Sure be protection, rejection. But if something is not meant for you, then being turned away from it is not loss. It is mercy. Uncertainty, but your entire life has been guided through uncertainty, and you are still here, still standing, still moving forward. This realization is deeply emotional, because it reminds you that you were never truly in control to begin with. And instead of creating anxiety, it creates relief. A release from the pressure of needing everything to go perfectly. A release from the fear of the unknown. A release from the constant overthinking that holds you back. Because now you trust. You trust that every step you take with sincerity is seen. You trust that every hardship has meaning. You trust that even delays are part of a greater plan. And this trust transforms your behavior. You begin to act with courage, not because fear disappears completely, but because faith becomes stronger than fear. You still feel the hesitation, but you move anyway. You still face uncertainty, but you step forward anyway. You still don't have all the answers, but you trust the one who does. And this is where real courage is born. Because courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite it. And faith gives you that decision. It reminds you that your worth is not defined by outcomes, that your journey is not meaningless, that your efforts are never ignored. And once this belief settles in your heart, you stop shrinking. You stop holding back. You stop letting fear dictate your choices. Because you know you are supported in ways you cannot see. There is a deep peace in that understanding. A peace that allows you to sleep without anxiety. A peace that allows you to try without fear of embarrassment. A peace that allows you to rise again after falling, because your confidence is no longer based on yourself alone, it's based on your connection with Allah. And that connection is unbreakable. So you walk forward differently, with calmness in your heart, with strength in your steps, with certainty in your direction. Not because life is easy, but because your faith is strong. And when faith is strong, fear no longer has the authority to control your life. Difficulties expose whether your attitude is strong or weak. Anyone can appear strong when life is easy. Anyone can speak confidently when things are going their way. Anyone can feel positive when there is no pressure. But that is not strength. Real strength is revealed in difficulty, because challenges don't build your mindset. they expose it. The moment life becomes hard, when plans fail, when doors close, when things don't go as expected, that is when your true attitude comes to the surface. Not the one you show people, but the one you truly carry inside. Some people break. They complain. They blame. They lose hope. They see the difficulty as proof that they cannot succeed. And slowly, they give up. But others respond differently. They pause, but they don't quit. They feel the pressure, but they don't collapse. They struggle, but they keep moving. Because their mindset is not dependent on ease. It is built for endurance. And this difference is not created in the moment of challenge. It is revealed in that moment. Because whatever you have been feeding your mind, belief or doubt, discipline or excuses, faith or fear, that is what will appear when life tests you. Challenges are like a mirror. They reflect your inner condition. If your mindset is weak, the challenge will feel heavier than it is. If your mindset is strong, the same challenge will feel manageable, even meaningful. And this is where most people misunderstand hardship. They see it as something negative, something to avoid, something unfair. But
Languages are not your enemy. They are your exposure. They show you where you stand. They show you what you need to strengthen. They show you the truth you often ignore in comfort. And there is something deeply emotional about this realization.
Some of the implicit not becande cannot met Bachar is all different, deeply emotional about this realization. Because in difficulty, you cannot hide from yourself. You see your patience or your impatience. You see your faith or your doubt. You see your resilience or your tendency to quit. And sometimes that truth is uncomfortable because it forces you to confront the gap between who you are and who you want to be. From a deeper perspective, challenges are also a form of divine testing. Allah does not test a person to destroy them. He tests them to elevate them. Every hardship carries an opportunity to grow stronger, to become more patient, to deepen your trust. But whether you grow or break depends on your mindset. If your attitude is built on complaints, every test feels like punishment. If your attitude is built on faith, every test feels like purpose. This is the difference. One mindset asks, why is this happening to me? The other asks, what is this preparing me for? One resists the test. The other learns from it. And over time, these responses shape two completely different lives. Because challenges are unavoidable. You will face loss, you will face delay, you will face moments where nothing seems to work. The question is not if you will be tested. The question is who you will be when the test arrives. Will you be the person who stops or the person who stands? Will you be the person who doubts or the person who trusts? Will you be the person who gives in or the person who grows through it? These decisions are not made in comfort. They are made in pressure. And pressure reveals everything. It reveals how much you truly believe in yourself. It reveals how strong your discipline real is. It reveals how deep your faith actually goes. And once you understand this, you begin to see challenges differently. You stop running from them. You stop fearing them. You stop wishing for an easy life because you realize an easy life does not build a strong person. It creates comfort but not character. But challenges build character. They refine you. They strengthen you. They reshape your thinking. They turn patience into habit. They turn faith into certainty. They turn effort into resilience. And over time, you become someone who is not easily shaken, someone who does not collapse at the first sign of difficulty, someone who can carry pressure without losing direction. And that transformation is powerful because now challenges no longer define your limits. They reveal your strength. They show you that you are capable of more than you thought, that you can endure more than you believed, that you can rise. Even when everything feels heavy, your attitude determines the opportunities that come into your life. Most people spend their lives chasing success, running after it, forcing it, trying to grab it as if it is something outside of them. But the truth is, success does not respond to desperation. It responds to alignment. Because success is not something you hunt down. It is something you attract by the person you become. And the foundation of that person is your attitude. Your attitude shapes your energy, your behavior, your decisions, and the way people perceive you. It quietly communicates who you are without you saying a single word. A negative attitude repels opportunity. It shows up as doubt, hesitation, inconsistency, and lack of belief. And even if chances appear, they slip away because the mindset is not ready to receive them. But a strong, positive, disciplined attitude does something different. It attracts. It draws in trust. It draws in respect. It draws in opportunities that align with growth. Because people are not only looking at your skills, they are responding to your mindset. They can feel your confidence. They can sense your discipline. They can recognize your belief. And opportunities naturally move toward that energy. Think about it. Why do some people seem to get lucky? Why do doors open for them? Why do they meet the right people at the right time? It is not random. It is alignment. They have built themselves into someone who is prepared, focused, and ready. So when opportunity appears, they don't hesitate. They don't doubt. They step forward. And because they step forward, they receive. But others miss the same opportunities. Not because they were not there, but because their attitude kept them blind, hesitant, or unprepared. This is the silent difference. Success is always circulating. Opportunities are always present. But only those who are mentally and spiritually ready recognize and act on them. From a deeper perspective, this is where faith plays a powerful role. What is written for you will reach you, no matter how far it seems. But you are also commanded to prepare yourself, to strive, to grow, to become worthy of what you seek. This creates a balance. You do not chase success with desperation. You prepare for it with discipline and trust. You refine your attitude. You strengthen your character. And then present, you refine your attitude. You strengthen your character. And then you trust that Allah will open the right doors at the right time. And when those doors open, your attitude determines whether you walk through them. Because many people pray for opportunity, but are not ready when it arrives. They hesitate. They doubt. They overthink. And the moment passes, but the one who has worked on their attitude responds differently. They move with confidence. They act with clarity. They trust their preparation. And because of that, they receive what others miss. There is something deeply emotional about realizing this. The life you desire is not as far as it seems. It is waiting for you to become the person who can hold it. That the opportunities you seek are not avoiding you. They are waiting for your readiness. And that readiness is built daily through your thoughts, your habits, your discipline, and your faith. Your attitude is like a magnet. If it is weak, filled with doubt and negativity, it repels what you want. If it is strong, focused, and grounded in belief, it attracts what you seek. And this is why two people can have the same goal, but completely different results. One keeps chasing endlessly. The other becomes, attracts, and receives. Because one is focused on the outside, the other is working on the inside. And the inside always shapes the outside. So instead of asking, where is success? Ask yourself, who am I becoming? Because success is not hiding from you. It is waiting for your attitude to match it, waiting for your mindset to align with it, waiting for your belief to rise to the level required to receive it. Guard your attitude like your most valuable asset, because it is the one thing you fully control and the one thing that controls everything else. Change your attitude and you will change your life.